I want you to think of all the love that is here for you.
Des un dorna, des un dorna. In the sky you'll get by. It's the time, smile through your fear and sorrow. Smile, and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through.
Ladies and gentlemen, Darius.
I would give you a round of applause, but I'd probably drop my phone.
Yeah, please don't drop your phone, because we've had enough problems with your phone this afternoon. If you don't mind me saying.
No, thanks for listening to you guys on.
Okay, well, it's great. Well, you're there now, and that's the main thing, so thank goodness for that. But,
that is the main thing. I'm in between rehearsals and interviews, and we're getting ready for the history of the big bands, and we're really excited to be kicking off the tour on the 11th in St Albans. It's going to be a really great show.
Okay, so how did this come about then? You know, why big bands? How did you get involved with this?
Well, about a year ago, I was talking to my grandfather, who was in hospital, and he was telling me about his life, and the radio was on, and he said that's a good song. It reminds me of the original, and it was Michael Bublé.
Right, yeah.
I'd had lunch with Michael in Los Angeles before, and we talked about songs and standards and our favourite music. And talking to my grandfather, I got into it a bit more, and I asked him about, you know, his life and music. And he basically told me about the history of the big bands. And he described a world back in the day when big band music was prevalent in the very fabric, the kind of the social and cultural fabric of day-to-day life. Whether it be in radio stations like yours, that back in the day they'd have a big band that would come round on a Saturday and Sunday and would play music live that would go out on the airwaves on what we then knew as the wireless. And big band music was prevalent in the dance halls, which on a Friday or Saturday night people would go to and socialise and meet their sweetheart and fall in love. And the music was the reason that we had dances like the Lindy Hop, and big band music was used to motivate the troops. It was the pop, rock, and hip hop of its era. and thinking about big band, it's one of the only styles of music that transcends generation. I had that conversation with my grandfather, and then went home, and my brother Cyrus was in his room, and he was playing Cry Me a River by Michael Bublé. And it just made me think that whether it be my grandfather or my mother or me or my little brother, I wanted to try and create a show that would be entertainment for all of those generations, and would effectively transport the audience back to a different era, and give the audience a journey through the history of the big bands, through the eyes of the big band leaders, from the greats, Duke Ellington, from one of my favourites actually is Glenn Miller, all the way through to Count Basie. And so we take the great songs, the standards that were made famous by legends like Sinatra and Dean Martin and Nat King Cole, my favourite, and we give the audience a little glimpse at what it would have been like to have had 18 of the best musicians in Europe play some of the original compositions that were hits in those days and are so well known to us now, and do it in a kind of audio-visual spectacular. We've got a wonderful burlesque dancer all the way over from the States who's going to be wowing the audience with her charms that she has had the fortune of performing in Las Vegas and Paris, and we've got her for the history of the big bands. And so this tour is one that I'm very excited about, and all the more so because I get to co-produce it.
I was going to say, you're not just a performer in this, are you? Not just a star of the show, you are also the producer. What led to that?
Well, it was
very devastating news after the loss of Darius Campbell. The Scot came third on Pop Idol behind Will Young and Gareth Gates in 2002. He reached actually number 1 in the UK later that year with Colourblind, while his album Dive In reached the top 10. By the way, after his chart breakthrough, he went on to become a West End star, appearing in musicals like Chicago and the Olivier award-winning Guys and the Dolls. The cause of death is not known yet, but his family said he was found in the US apartment passed on. In a very emotional and heartbreaking statement, they said, "It's with great sadness that we announce the passing on of Darius Campbell Danesh." They said in a statement, Darius was found unresponsive in his bed in his apartment room in Rochester, Minnesota on August 11th and was pronounced dead in the afternoon by the local medical examiner's office. The local police department have confirmed that there were no signs of intent or suspicious circumstances. The cause of his sudden death is unknown in this moment in time, while the medical examinations still continue to being carried out. Actually, the father said, "We ask that you kindly respect our wishes and privacy at this time whilst we come to terms with the tragic loss of our son and brother." Tributes are actually still coming in and were paid by fans and celebrities, including singer turned presenter Rylan Clark, who himself found fame on The X Factor. Actor Sanjeev Bhaskar tweeted, "Sad news of Darius' shockingly ultimate passing, and we are still grieving and mourning because of the immense pain. He was a guest on the Commerce and couldn't have been nicer, warmer guest with a great sense of self-deprecation. Darius was a lovely bloke," added the broadcaster James O'Brien, who came across as a very confident and ambitious on the TV, but away from the cameras, he was gentle, generous, humble, and utterly devoted to his little brothers. Campbell Danesh was born in Glasgow in around 1980 to a Scottish mother and an Iranian father, and read English literature and philosophy at the University of Edinburgh. But he set his sights on stardom and actually was first attracted at the attention of pop stars a while ago, while his ground breakthrough in 2001 talent show with his theatre co-cover of Britney Spears' Baby One More Time, and actually later that year he resurfaced on follow-up pop idol minus the ponytail and beard with a new attitude that took him to the last three of the final that was watched by more than unprecedentedly 13 million people. Reflecting on his career in an interview actually he held with the press in around 2017, the performer said his early experiences on the shows helped him to shape his outlook and actually his career. In his own words, he said, "I look back at it all with fond memories and with a deep appreciation of the support of the British public at a time when I first made a breakthrough as a pop star. I made mistakes, of course, and I was too cocky and I didn't have humility," he said. "However, I came back with a willingness to learn from my mistakes and to simply share my voice and love of music." In this moment in time, we are sending our sincere condolences to the family, friends, and everyone who was close to Darius Danesh Campbell. And all we can say is, rest in power the King, Darius Danesh Campbell.